I love deductive reasoning. So deductive reasoning is pretty much how we deal with life. Deductive reasoning is the process of reasoning logically. The process of reasoning logically and drawing conclusions from given facts and statements. So we do this all the time in life. So let's look at this. Law of detachment. So if you were given a conditional statement, we've already done that, if-then form, conditional statement. If the hypothesis is true, then the conclusion is true. So here's what the symbolic map looks like. We already know the conditional statement, if P, then Q. So now, law of detachment says, okay, if P is true, therefore Q. So let's look at that. If P, then Q, my given is P, so it's saying, even if this is not logical, so many times in life we come up with conclusions that aren't logical. But because of the logic reasoning, it's logical to us. So here's what that means. If P, then Q. So if your hypothesis is true, therefore your conclusion is true. Let's look at what that, let's go in and see some examples of that. So for these, we're going to use a law of detachment to give a valid conclusion. If it's not possible, no valid conclusion. So keep in mind, if P, then Q. So if our hypothesis is given to us, then it's going to be true. So if Mark saves $30, then he can buy a new video game. So here's P. If Mark saves $30, then the conclusion, then he can buy a new video game. Mark saves $30. That's our hypothesis. So if Mark saves $30, then Mark can buy a new video game. Okay? Number 2, given if a quadrilateral is a rhombus, there's my P statement, then it is also a parallelogram. Quadrilateral ABC is a rhombus. Then quadrilateral ABC is also a parallelogram because it gave me P. So if it gave me P, therefore Q is true. If you're 18 years old, that's my P statement, then you can register to vote, Q. Olivia is not 18 years old. Well, no valid conclusion. No valid conclusion. You can only conclude something if they give you my P statement. Now, if it said Olivia is 18 years old, like my hypothesis, then I can say they can vote. But this is not P. This is not P. This has to be P. If it's not P, no valid conclusion. All right, let's look at another one. Number 4. If the sum of the measures is of two angles is 90 degrees, then they are complementary. Angle J is 58 degrees and angle K is 32 degrees. Those are 90 degrees. So my P statement is true. Given my P statement, now I can say the measure of angle J, I can say angle J. I don't even have to say the measures. I can now say that angle J and angle K are complementary. Both of those angles are complementary. All right, given, if you plan to attend prom, that's P. Then you must purchase a ticket, that's Q. Sarah purchases a prom ticket. Is this my P statement? No. It says if you plan to attend, that's my P statement. This is not P, therefore, no valid conclusion. So my given statement then needs to be exactly the same. Notice this was not P, no valid conclusion. this was not P, no valid conclusion. So I hope that makes sense there. So that's law of detachment. Law of syllogism is kind of like my transitive property. Remember my transitive property from last year? And I said in algebra, we really don't use it. In geometry, we use it a lot. This kind of looks like it. So we're going to talk about that and see if we can draw some conclusions there. So law of syllogism and law of detachment all fall under deductive reasoning because it's given information, given facts and statements, and we're drawing a conclusion to that. So look at this one. Law of syllogism allows you to draw a conclusion from two conditional statements in which the conclusion of the first statement is the hypothesis of the second statement. Okay, so sounds a little tricky, but we're going to walk it through it. So what does my symbolic map look like? It looks like this. If P, then Q. If Q, then R. Therefore, if P, then R. So remember my transitive property when we said, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, and we kind of took out that middleman and we drew a conclusion from A and C. That's very, very similar to the law of syllogism. So let's take a look at this, and we're going to use the law of syllogism to give a valid conclusion. So if it is Saturday, there's my P statement. Then Jake has a baseball tournament. That's my Q statement. If Jake has a baseball tournament, that's my Q statement. Then he will need to pack his lunch. That's my R statement. So this follows law of syllogism. If P, then Q, my Q statement, so it's the conclusion here, but it's the hypothesis here. So if Jake has a baseball tournament, then he will need to pack his lunch. So perfect. It follows my symbolic map, so I can draw the conclusion that if it is Saturday, then Jake will need to pack his lunch. See how that works? Okay, let's look at number 7. If a number is divisible by 12, that's the hypothesis, then it is divisible by 6. That's my conclusion. If a number is divisible by 6, that's exactly the same, so now that's the Q as well. These both match. Then it is divisible by 3. So this follows the same symbolic map. If P, then Q. If Q, then R. So my map is given. Now I can make the conclusion that if a number is divisible by 12, then it is divisible by 3. Okay? All right, let's take a look at number 8. If a quadrilateral is a square, that's my P statement. Then it is a rectangle. That's my Q statement. If a quadrilateral is a rectangle, that is my Q statement. It's a rectangle. Then it has 4 right angles. That's an R statement. Oh, no. I stopped. There it is. So it matches that if P, then Q, if Q, then R. So now I can say if a quadrilateral is a square, then it has 4 right angles. Okay, now pause and see if you can do 9 through 11, and then I'm going to come back and just kind of tell you what they are. I want you to write them down. All right, number 9. If it is sunny, P, then you will go boating. If it is sunny this weekend, oh, no, that's not a Q statement. My Q statement says then you will go boating, but it doesn't say I'm going boating. Therefore, right away, no valid conclusion. It does not match my map, so no valid conclusion. Number 10, if you shop at Target, P, then you will use your Target red card, Q. If you do not use your Target red card, uh-oh, that's not Q. No valid conclusion. It doesn't match it exactly. So no valid conclusion. All right? And number 11, if it snows, then school will be canceled. If school is canceled, that matches my Q statement, then students will need to a make-up day of school. So this matches, so now I can say if it snows, then students will need to make up a day of school. All right. Okay, tune back in because then we're going to talk about, we're going to do some more examples together.